8.10 Pests of vegetables. 1. Hatta beetle, Henicephalocna vigintioctopunctata equals Epilocna babricius family. Coccinellidae, order, Coleoptera originated in Russia. Hatta beetle is now a cosmopolitan pest of various vegetable crops like potato, brinjal and other solanaceous and cucurbit plant species. Identification. Adult beetles are about 8 mm in length and 5 to 6 mm in breadth and deep red in color. The body is hemispherical and smooth. Adults are good flyers and move from plant to plant. 149. Nature of damage. Both larvae and adults are destructive. Adult and grubs both scrap the lower epidermis on the green tissues of leaves in characteristic manner, leaving behind stripes of uneaten areas. In severe infestation, all leaves may be eaten off, leaving only the veins intact and which ultimately dries up. Life cycle. After mating, the female starts laying eggs in the month of March-April. Eggs are laid in the cluster of 120 to 180 eggs, arranged side by side on the upper surface of the leaves. After 3 to 4 days of incubation period, newly hatched, yellowish grubs feed on epidermis. Grubs are oval in shape, having spines and hairs on the body surface. After completing 4 instars, grub pupates either on leaves, stem or at the base of the plant. Pupation period is 3 to 4 days and the whole life cycle completes within 20 days in favorable conditions during summer season. Whereas in winters it goes up to 50 days. 2. Red pumpkin beetle, Olicophora phobicollis, Lucas family, Chrysomelidae, order. Coleoptera, red pumpkin beetle is the major insect pest of cucurbitaceous vegetables in all over Asia, Africa and Europe and Australia. Its host range varies among the vegetables crops from pumpkin, melon, cucumber to variety of gourds. Identification. Adult beetles are yellowish brown to orange in color with shiny elytra, while grub is white to brown in head. Nature of damage. Adult and grub both cause extensive damage to different parts of the plant. The grubs, upon hatching, bore inside the root and start feeding, resulting in wilting and drying of plants. The adult beetles feed extensively on leaves, flowers, and fruits. The feeding hole seen on the leaves is a characteristic symptom of damage by adult beetles. Life cycle. Female lays eggs either singly or in a batch of 8 to 9 eggs in the soil which hatch in 6 to 8 days. The grubs during feeding into the basal portion of the plant molt 4 times and finally move downward deep into soil for pupation. Pupation generally takes 7 to 17 days, after which adult comes out of soil and feeds upon the foliage part of the crop. Adult passes winter by hibernation inside the soil from November onwards, only to emerge out in the next March. 3. Cabbage butterfly, Pieris brassicae, Linnaeus family, Pieridae, order, Lepidoptera. 150. The cabbage butterfly is a serious pest of cabbage world over and is more prevalent in northern states of the country. Identification. Butterfly is yellowish-white in color with black apical margin of the otherwise white wing. Forewings are having 2 black spots each. Female are longer than the males. Nature of damage. Only caterpillar is the destructive stage, where it feeds on cabbage and cauliflower leaves, resulting into their total destruction. The pest is believed to incur more than 40% of annual yield loss in different crops. Life cycle. The female butterflies lays eggs in bunches, 50 to 80, on the undersides of leaves. Incubation period varies as per the climatic conditions from 3 to 17 days. Upon hatching, young pale yellow-colored caterpillar with hairy body starts feeding actively. Caterpillar undergoes 5 molts to become bluish-green in color with gray and black head. Larval period varies from 15 days in summer to 40 days in winter, which is followed by pupation in the cabbage leaves for 7 to 28 days. 4. Onion thrips, Thrips tabaci lindemann family, Thripidae, order, Thysanoptera. Thrips are polyphagous pests of Cucurbitaceae and Solanaceae. Among vegetables, injured or onion, bean, cabbage, chili, Chinese cabbage, cowpea, cucumber, bean, eggplant, lettuce, melon, okra, pea, pepper, potato, etc. Identification. Adults are pale yellow or whitish or brown in color but with numerous dark setae on the body. A black line resulting from the juncture of the wings runs along the back of the body. Nature of damage. Thrips cause severe injury to infested leaves, which develop silvery patches all over the leaves and then crinkle and die. In severe infestation, leaves dry from tip to downward, which is a characteristic damage symptom for thrips. Life cycle. Female lays eggs in leaf tissue by making a slit cut in the leaf surface. Incubation period for these eggs is 7 to 16 days. Wingless, small larvae resemble the adults. Larvae feed in group along with the midrib and veins in older leaves. The larval period is followed by 2 inactive prepupal and pupal stages, which last up to 3 to 12 days. 151. 8.11 Pests of fruits. 1. Melon fruit fly, Bactrocera equals Dacus, Cucurbitae coquillette family, Tephrididae, order. Diptera fruit fly is a major pest of more than 81 different crop plant species, with its host range from fruit crops to different cucurbitaceous vegetables. Identification. The adult fruit fly is similar to housefly in their size, about 6 to 8 m long. These flies are orange to brown in color with T-shaped marking on the abdomen. The wings are transparent with prominent brown spot at the tip of the wings. The female is having a tapering abdomen with a pointy ovipositor, which is used to puncture the fruits for egg laying. Nature of damage. Female prefer tender fruits for egg laying, while the hatching maggots feed inside these soft tissues. The point of puncture oozes with seepage of fruit pulp and becomes hard resinous, concave point, ultimately reducing the commercial value of the infested fruit. Life cycle. A female melon fly usually lays eggs under the skin of host fruit, flowers, stems, and exposed roots. These eggs hatch into opodous maggots, which tunnel through the flesh of the fruit, leaving the fruit as a rotten mass and making it unfit for consumption. After completing 3 larval instars, larvae come out of the fruit and burrows inside soil, up to 3 centimeters, to pupate. Life cycle completes in 1 or 2 months and several generations can be observed annually. 2. Lemon butterfly, Papiliodomolius family, Populionity, order, Lepidoptera. The citrus or lemon butterfly is also known as the swallowtail butterfly. Major host of the butterfly is citrus or lemon along with curry leaf. Identification. It is a large butterfly measuring up to 28 mm long and 100 mm of wingspan. The wings contain large buff spots with black borders along with 2 brightly colored eye spots and the hind wings. Nature of damage. The caterpillars of lemon butterfly feed on tender shoots and leaves of the citrus plants, leaving only midrib behind. Severe infestation and large defoliation causes no fruit bearing on the plants. Life cycle. The female butterfly lays single eggs on the undersurface of the tender citrus leaves. The incubation period is 4 to 6 days and newly hatched brown to black colored caterpillars start 152. Feeding onto the tender leaves. Caterpillars pass 5 larval instars and upon growing turns bright green in color with orange prolegs and a spine on thorax and 9th abdominal segment. Larval period lasts for 2 weeks and pupa are attached to the stem by silken thread. Life cycle completes in 3 to 13 weeks and 4 overlapping generations can be observed in a year. 3. Mango leaf hopper, Idioceras atkinsoni family, Jacidae, order, Hemiptera. It is a serious pest of mango crop all over the Southeast Asian countries. Identification. The adults are grayish-brown in color with wings held as a roof-like structure over the body. Head is broad and prominent, whereas the hind legs are provided with thick layer of bristles. Nature of damage. The adult and nymph stages are destructive and cause damage by sucking cell sap from young shoot. Flowers or whole inflorescence ultimately causing them to dry and fall off. Honeydew secreted on leaves by these hoppers facilitates the fungal growth over the leaf surface resulting in unsatisfactory photosynthesis. Infested young trees are unable to grow and fruit bearing in older trees is hampered by severe infestation. Life cycle. White to dull white colored eggs are laid singly on the mango leaves and flower buds. The incubation period lasts for 3 to 6 days and hatching nymphs are yellowish green in color. These nymphs then suck the cell sap from young leaves, buds and inflorescence, secreting honeydew for the fungal growth. The developed fungal growth gives mango tree a dull black color. The wingless nymphs can jump from one stem onto another in search of tender leaves and attain full growth after 8 to 14 days. After attaining maturity, the wingless nymphs molts into winged adults and life cycle completes within 15 to 20 days. Only one generation is found in a year. 4. White grub, Entomology family, Scarabaeidae, order, Coleoptera. It is a major pest in Himalayan region and is prevalent in hilly states like Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. These beetles feed on the leaves of various fruit and vegetables crops such as apple, pear, plum, poplar, sugarcane, cauliflower, okra, pea, capsicum, potato, garlic, rose, etc. Identification. The adult beetles are oval to convex in shape and range from 18 to 21 mm in body length and 10 to 12 mm in width. The elytra are shiny apple green in color with a metallic texture. 153. Whereas, the legs are bluish green in color. The larva is a C-shaped grub and lives under the soil where it feeds upon the roots of various plant species. Nature of damage. Both adult and grub stages are destructive pests of different crop plants. The adult beetles prefer to feed upon the foliage of crop plants whereas, the grub cause damage to the growing roots. The adult beetles start feeding from the outer periphery of the leaves and shoot at night. The larvae feed upon the roots by cutting the roots and cause severe damage. Life cycle. The adult beetles emerge during the onset of monsoon season, May-June. The female lays single eggs under the soil surface, which has an incubation period of 8 to 16 days. Newly hatched grub is white in color and ranges up to 11 to 13 m. These grubs actively feed on the developing roots of various host species and cause serious damage to the crop. Grub passes 3 larval instars during the month of September. Third instar white grub larva goes into winter diapause during October inside the earthen cells and begins feeding again at the onset of March. Once feeding completes during the first 2-3 weeks of March, third instar grub goes to pupa stages which last up to 2 weeks. 8.12 Polyphagous insect pests. 1. Locust family, Acrididae, order, Orthoptera. Locust or short-horned grasshopper with polyphagous and voracious feeding habits. Different species of these grasshoppers has marked polymorphism and make swarm to migrate several hundred kilometers. Locust swarms infest large areas en route and can devastate millions of square area in short time to cause massive economic and environmental losses. Among the several species of polyphagous locust, only 4 species, namely desert locust, Schistocerca gregaria, migratory locust, Locusta migratoria, Bombay locust, Nomodacris succincta, and tree locust, Anacridium spp. are found in India. Identification. Adult locust varies in body sizes as male are 25 to 30 m and the females are 30 to 45 m long. Body color also varies from gray, brown to green. Hind wings bear large dark spots at the tip and hind legs are distinctive red in color. Nature of damage. Under normal circumstances, locusts do not cause much damage and are considered as harmless insects as they do not pose any economic threat to the crops. It is only in their migratory phase, where a drastic change occurs in their reproductive behavior and they 154. Dramatically increase their rate of reproduction. Locusts are voracious feeders and feed almost all the different parts of a plant including leaves, flowers, fruits, seeds, bark and growing parts of the plant. A locust swarm spread over 1 square mile is believed to be containing more than 300 tons of locusts, resulting into a total loss of lives in that area. Largest locust swarm till date was recorded to be spread over 300 square miles. Life cycle. The female lays eggs inside pod under the moist sandy soils at a depth of 10 centimeters. Each pod of eggs consists of 100 to 160 eggs. The incubation period varies with the variation in soil temperature. The most rapid incubation takes place at a soil temperature of 31–35 degrees Celsius, where it ranges from 10 to 12 days. In lesser temperature, 19 degrees Celsius, the incubation period increases up to 70 days. After hatching, nymph passes through 5 nymphal instars during the gregarious phase and 5 to 6 nymphal instars during solitary phase. The nymphal development also varies with the air temperature from 22 days during summers to 70 days during the winter season. The 5th instar nymph molts into adult, and this process is known as fledging, and the young adult is known as fledgling. 2. Termites family. Termitidae, order, Blatodia, infraorder, Isoptera. Termites have recently been classified under the order Blatodia after being placed under Isoptera for a long time. Isoptera has been newly categorized as the infraorder or suborder, containing 7 termite families worldwide. Termites are one of the most destructive pests of human household and can also infest several crop plant species to cause major economic damage. These are social insects consisting colonies having presence of members belonging to different castes with a division of labor and overlapping generations. Each termite colony contains 3 major castes, namely workers, soldiers, and reproductives. Up to 2,700 known species of termites are distributed all around the tropical parts of the world. Ecologically, termites are beneficial as they act as decomposers to the dead wood and vegetable products, thus ultimately enriching soil with more porous and permeable to the air. Identification. Termites are commonly called as white ants. Worker termites, which make for almost 90% of total population of the colony, are wingless and sterile with no pigment, hence look pale white in color. Similar to workers, soldiers are also tiny white in color with no pigments and are provided with hard and powerful mandibles. Male reproductive or the kings are 155. Very few, 5 to 10, in number, and their sole responsibility is to constantly provide sperms to the queen. There is only one or rarely more queens in a single termite colony. Queen is physogastric with a large, swollen abdomen. A termite queen can live up to 15 years and lays millions of eggs during its life cycle. Nature of damage. Termites form their nest termitaria beneath the soil surface up to 20 to 50 cm depth and comes to the ground level and upward through tunnels made of digested wooden and soil particles. The termites often infest buildings and damage lumber, wood panels, flooring, wallpaper, plastics, paper products, and fabric made of plant fibers. The most serious damage is the loss of structural strength. Other costly losses include attacks on flooring, carpeting, artwork, books, clothing, furniture, and valuable papers. Subterranean termites do not attack live trees. The termites also damage the standing crops like sugarcane, wheat, paddy, groundnut, cotton, corn, sorghum, chili, brinjal, cauliflower, cabbage, beans, potato, etc. The crops are attacked from the time of transplantation to harvest. Life cycle. Similar to honeybees, construction or establishment of a new colony in termites takes place through swarming. During spring or fall seasons, several hundred to thousand winged primary reproductive male and female termites perform the swarming in search of suitable nest. This flight is followed by shedding of wings and settlement of such males and female in pair into the moist damp wood. The royal couple then reproduce and inside a sealed chamber, and females starts laying over 30,000 eggs per day. The yellowish eggs hatch within 50 to 60 days. 3. Cutworms, Spodoptera littora family, Noctuidae, order, Lepidoptera. The cutworm pest group belongs to the family Noctuidae. These insects are major pest of several crops and wild plant species. Among the different cutworm species, the rice, tobacco, and cotton cutworm, Spodoptera littora is the most destructive and prolificous pest, as its host range vary up to 100 plant species. Identification. Adults are nocturnal and are dull gray to brown and yellow in color. These adults can be found at the basal area of the plant during daytime and are attracted towards light source during night period. Cutworm caterpillars are plump and smooth, growing to about 40 millimeters long, but they usually cannot be seen as they hide under the soil or litter by day. Newly emerged larvae are translucent green with a dark underside. Young larvae are smooth-skinned and 156. Translucent green, and dark underneath. The 3rd instars have red and yellow longitudinal lines. 4th and 5th instars have yellow longitudinal 8 lines and black triangular spots on each side of the middle line on top. Often they can be located by scratching the surface near damaged plants, where they can be seen curled up in a defensive position. The adult of rice, cotton, and tobacco cutworm, Spodoptera littora, resembles to the army worm, Spodoptera fragiperda, which is also a major alien species, capable of damaging wide array of plant types. Nature of damage. Cutworm larvae feed by cutting into the budding and weak plant leaves. Presence of skeletonized leaves is a characteristic damage symptom of S. littora larva. The young caterpillar feeds on soft and tender leaves at seedling stage. Whereas the fully grown larvae also attack the whole leaf, flowers, and fruits. Life cycle. Female moth lays eggs underside of the leaves in a batch of 200 to 300 eggs, covered with tuft of hairs. The eggs hatch in 4 to 12 days. Newly hatched larvae stay inactive during the daytime and feed on soft tender leaves only during the night. 2nd instar and further, the larva actively feeds upon leaves, flowers, buds, and fruits to seriously damage the crop. Pupation takes place inside the soil and develops within 6 to 7 days. 5. Gram pod borer, Helicoverpa armigera family, Noctuidae, order, Lepidoptera. H. armigera is one of the most destructive pests of major crops in nearly all the areas where it occurs. The host range extends more than 200 different plant species, including food, fiber, oilseed, fodder, commodity, and horticultural crops. H. armigera has been reported causing serious losses throughout its range, in particular to cotton, tomatoes, and maize. In India, H. armigera commonly destroys over half the yield of pulse crops, pigeon pea and chickpea, and tomato. Identification. Adult moth ranges 12 to 20 m in body length. Forewings in females are yellow to brown and greenish gray in males, with a brown spot near the anterior margin. Hindwings pale yellow with a brown band at the posterior edges and a dark round spot in the middle. The larva is 35 to 40 m in length. Its pale green to dark brown color depends on the host plant, and with a dark, dorsal stripe. The head, pronotum, the thoracic legs and the 5 pairs of abdominal prolegs are dark brown or black. 157. Nature of damage. Reproductive parts of different crops, viz. Flower and fruits are more prone to the helicoverpa attacks, but larvae also feed upon the leaves in early stages of its development in certain crops like chickpea, groundnut and pigeon pea. Different damaging symptoms of H. armigera in major crops are as following. Chickpea. Foliage is eaten by the young larva and the third instar larva bores into the pod with posterior half of the body hanging outside. Due to such damage to the pod, the pest is known as gram pod borer. Corn, maize, larva feeds on developing grains inside the ears. Cotton. Larva bores hole at the base of flower buds and hollows the buds from inside. Grown larvae enter the young cotton bolls and feeds inside them, resulting in dropping of the infested bolls. The pest is commonly known as American bollworm in cotton agro ecosystem. Tomato. Fruit borers in tomato enter into the young fruits and cause dropping of such fruits. Secondary infestation by other organisms causes rotting of infested fruits.